and welcome to the viewer voted algorithm for Moonee Valley tomorrow, the 23rd of August 2025. We'll look back first at last week at Caulfield. The first race was nothing special. Verdú was in the biggest underlay. Was the biggest underlay. It ran a placing. That's the only bit of colour in race number 1. In race number 2, it was good. The top rated selection won, MacDane. It was also the biggest overlay. The biggest underlay, Skipper's Canyon, got rolled. Race 3 was also good. Bossy Bonita, the top rated horse, won. Trial by Press ran a place. It was the second biggest overlay, $31. Not to place, it was to win, but it was about $7 the place. Gala Queen did nothing, it was the biggest underlay. In terms of race 4, we didn't have Home Rule in there. It was the second biggest underlay at 1. Kappa 39, the biggest underlay, got rolled. Carlyon High runs a placing. The Vane Stakes, Jimmy Ricard, top-rated selection wins. Express Class was the biggest overlay, and it ran 3rd. Tycoon Star was the biggest underlay, and let's face it, it should have won. Then we move to the Quizette. There's no colour here at all, I don't think, apart from the underlays, where Ferruvia and My Gladiola were both in there. So the viewer voted algorithm didn't do too well for the Quizette Stakes. The Regal Roller was good. Pop Award was the top selection. It won. Royal Insignia ran 3rd or 2nd. I think it ran 3rd. It was in the biggest overlays as well. Pop Award and Arkansas Kid was the the first biggest underlay, and it ran 2nd. The PB Lawrence, this was very, very, very poor from the viewer voted algorithm. Nothing in the top 5 selections, nothing in the biggest overlays, and look at that. Look at the underlays. 1st, 2nd and 3rd, all in the biggest underlays for the PB Lawrence. It seems as though the first 2 weeks that we've done the viewer voted algorithm, the better the races get, the less accurate the viewer voted algorithm is. So not sure what to think about that. Maybe we can just follow it for the benchmark races. Race 9, well, Too Darn Discreet was that close. It was the top rated selection. It was the biggest overlay. Golden Path, Revelare didn't do anything. Nothing, nowhere. El Rocco, in terms of the quaddies, this one missed by 1 leg. This one missed by 3 legs. I've noticed in all the quaddies the past 3 or 4 weeks, the skinny and longer quaddie results are usually the same. We usually get the same amount of legs in for the skinny and the longer quaddie. So I think from now on we're just going to stick to one quaddie, and that's going to be the skinny quaddie, because we seem to be getting the same results every single time. So there's no real point continuing these longer quaddies, I don't think. The Valley tomorrow, it's out 5 metres the rail. It is a soft 5. Might be a good 4 come tomorrow. I expect it to start a soft 5 and get upgraded to a good 4 later in the meeting. The viewer voted algorithm Google Docs sheet is ready to go for race 1, 2, 3, 4 and the rest of the card. The listed Norman Carlyon being the feature, where the sprinters do battle. And let's get stuck into it. And if you can read by the title, hello everybody in the chat. Skinny Quaddie's better, says Adzi. What's up, says Adzi. And Vinny says, yo, hello boys, how we doing? If you look at the video title, you'll see new feature in asterisks. It's well, some of you might find it interesting. I think it's a decent new feature, but it I don't know. We'll see when we get to it. These are the variables if you somehow forgot them or haven't seen them before. These are the people that selected these variables, the times they were selected, and due to the time selected, the multiplier that gets put on them as well. The calculations sheet stays the same and the results sheet stays the same. Let's start with the first at the Valley. It is a field of 6 for the 3-year-old fillies. They do battle. I wonder who the viewer voted algorithm will throw up. I was pretty happy with the results from last week. There was a lot of top rated selections that won at decent odds, like MacDane and Pop Award. Even Jimmy Ricard was about $4. So this results page is going to look a little different but the same. We move over. So this is normal, but over here, this is the biggest score that a particular horse has got, and this is the lowest score that a horse has got for a particular category. So, for example, Miss Celine has the best average prize money in the field, or that's it's out of all the variables from back in this sheet, that's the best that it's polled votes in. I'm using Brownlow terms here, but the biggest score it's got, Miss Celine, is in average prize money, and the lowest score it's got is in the career place strike rate category. So that's how you read each horse, and it looks like we've got the top rated selection as the biggest overlay in this race, number 5, Ferocious Frankie, and that'll be ahead of Audio Pop Cam. Let me know who you're with in race 1. And that'll be ahead of Cherish Me and Angel Ladder. And then the 5th, well, it's sort of equal on points. I'm going to have to expand this one. 70 points. They're on the exact same points, Miss Celine and Petite Artiste. I'll just go Petite because it's not the biggest overlay, or it's a slight overlay. The biggest overlays are Ferocious Frankie, and the biggest underlays Cherish Me and Miss Celine. So we'll input those results in and let me know who you're with, because the viewer voted algorithm has selected, how do you spell Ferocious? Ferocious Frankie. I backed Audio Pop Cam on debut, so I'll be probably barracking for that horse. Cherish Me, Angel Ladder, and Petite Artiste. When we look at the results next week, it's going to be all colour because we've listed every single horse here. Ferocious Frankie is the only overlay in the race. Then the 2 biggest underlays are Cherish Me and Miss Celine. Vinny's got Petite Artiste, but nothing for him. Adzi, watch for me race 1, so you're not playing either. Field of 6 of 3-year-old fillies. It's not anything to get too excited about, I wouldn't have thought. So that's the viewer voted algorithm for race 1. I'll just go and see what Ferocious Frankie has done in its career. It won on debut at Cranbourne. Florida Region's actually a decent horse. I mean, it's not the worst pick. I don't mind that pick for Ferocious Frankie. We'll go race 2 now. It's the quality handicap over 2,500. Only a field of 7 to do battle in this one. Control A, Control C, and Control V. Look at the results. The biggest score is number 6, which is Jenny Vermoose. And then the second biggest is Bold Soul. Who's everyone with in race number 2? Third biggest, we got Flame and Romans. And then Ardakin and Wycliffe. Biggest overlay, Bold Soul. Second biggest Ardakin. Third biggest Wycliffe. Euphoric is the biggest underlay, and Flame and Romans is the biggest underlay, but not by much. Jennifer Moose did very well in this distance place strike rate. Didn't do too well in the handicap rating though for the top selection. So this race, the viewer voted algorithm is saying there's not much edge. Are you with Jennifer Moose, the favourite, or against? Let me know as I'll input these results in. Bold Soul, Flame and Romans, Ardakin and Wycliffe. And the biggest overlays, Bold Soul, Ardakin, Wycliffe. And then the biggest underlays are Euphoric and Flame and Romans. Well, I know Adzi's with Flame and Romans because it was in his last man standing. Vinny doesn't mind Flame and Romans, another watch race. So seems like you guys are settled on Flame and Romans, who, I mean, it's not a massive underlay. It's the third rated selection from the viewer voted algorithm. So it's probably a watch race for the viewer voted algorithm as well, because there's no real overlays or underlays, unlike the first race. We'll move on to race 3, which is a 3-year-old handicap over 1,500. I'm actually really intrigued to see who wins this race because I think it could be a good horse in time, depending on how well it wins. The race was won last year by Evaporate, who's a decent horse. All right, I forgot to update I keep forgetting to update the wins on the margins. I keep forgetting to make the wins a negative. All right, we'll do that. Make sure to do that for the rest of the races so we don't stuff up again. I'm not sure it would have made too many changes to the first 2 races, but I'll look back on that. Wow, there's a massive overlay, which is the top selection. Sabi Storm. I'm pretty sure I had that horse last start at Sandown. Ahead of the 2, Godfred Kirk, who looks to be a decent horse. Nope, Crossbow's second. Well, I know who Adsy's with. Ahead of Exit and Sisson, is that how we're pronouncing it? Biggest overlay and only overlay, Sabi Storm. Biggest underlay, Exit. Second biggest, Crossbow. And third biggest is Ornos. Who's everyone with in race number 3? Because there's a top selection and biggest overlay from the viewer voted algorithm. Sabi Storm. Crossbow is in for second. Godfred Kirk's in for third. Exit's in for fourth. Sisson in for fifth. The only overlay in the race from a viewer voted algorithm perspective is Sabi Storm. Whoops. And then, sorry, there is 3 underlays. It will be the 6 Exit, the 1 Crossbow, and the 7 Ornos. Adsy's with Crossbow, Vinny's with Exit. Viewer voted algorithms with Sabi Storm in a field of 7. So we've got almost half of the field. Hopefully one of us should win. All right, race 4, 78, 2000. Biggest field of the day so far. Field of 10 to do battle. What will the algorithm throw up in this one? Go over here and update these margins before I forget to do them again. Go back to these results, and there's a bit of green and a bit of red. So the top selection right down the bottom is Maisie, who is the favourite, so no overlay there. Second biggest is Rise to It. Then we've got Nothing Else Matters, Bird You Buy, and Genrachiro as the selections. The biggest overlay is Nothing Else Matters, who was the biggest overlay 2 weeks ago when it won at the Valley. Second biggest is Rise to It, and number 8, Morissette, is the third biggest. The underlays, the biggest underlay is the 9, Navy King. And then it's the 7, Genrachiro, and 1, Vega Magnifico. Who's everyone with in race number 4? Viewer voted algorithm selects Maisie ahead of Rise to It. Then Nothing Else Matters, Bird You Buy, and Genrachiro. The biggest overlays in the race, we've got Nothing Else Matters. And they're all decent overlays as well. The 6, Rise to It, and the 8, Morissette. 3 biggest underlays are Navy King, Genrachiro, and Vega Magnifico. Who's everyone with? Genrachiro for Vinny and Vega Magnifico for Adsy. Well, this might be the this might be the race where the viewer voted algorithm gets it wrong. I'm pretty sure Adzi and Vinny, you both contributed to this algorithm, so it's quite weird that you're going for the underlays here, but well, must have been the other bloke's input that changed it. So we're pretty much halfway through now. We'll go to race 5. Decent race this. It is a 3-year-old Colts and Geldings set weights plus penalties. How come this horse is 4 years old? It must be a Northern Hemisphere horse. How come that horse is 4 years old and allowed to be in the race? Control A, Control C, Control V. Get rid of Maisie. Scroll down to the margins. Update them all. Go back and to the results. Bit of green here. Bit of green. What can we unpack? The top rated horse is Estremo. No real overlay on that horse though. The second highest rated is Space Rider. Ahead of Wise In-Law. And then, oh, it's pretty even, but we've got, is it Street Fighter Vega? And then it's Regal Award. Biggest overlays are Street Fighter Vega. It's $34. Second biggest is Wise In-Law. Third biggest is Space Rider. The underlays, the biggest is Aleppo Pine, the toppy. Second biggest is Oyster Lane. Third biggest is Regal Award. So there's a lot of green and a lot of red in this race. The top rated horse is just an overlay, but not by much. So who have you got in race number 3? Race number 5 for 3-year-olds. Because there's 2 horses. What's its name? Street Fighter Vega. 7 and 9 are massive overlays. The 3rd and 4th rated selections. The 3 biggest overlays are obviously Street Fighter Vega, Wise In-Law, and Regal Award. 3 biggest underlays are Aleppo Pine, Oyster Lane, and Regal Award. No, yes, sorry, I'm don't know what I'm doing. Space Rider's meant to be in there. Regal Award, Wise In-Law. Razzle Dazzle doesn't mind Wise In-Law. Aleppo Pine for Vinny. I walked the track today. Seems to be a front runner's track and you want to be about 3 to 4 wide from the 300 metre mark. That's some good intel. We've got a track walker in the chat, everybody. Take note. It seems to be a front runner's track and you want to be about 3 to 4 wide from the 300 metre mark. So if you're going to back a horse that gets back, beware, is pretty much what that means, I think. And if you have a horse that can get off the inside, it might be advantageous as well. It was advantageous on the last time we raced at the Valley 2 weeks ago as well, so that's some good intel. I want to go deeper into the form of these 2 horses just to see why the viewer voted algorithm loves them. What have they got? So Wise In-Law, this track, place, strike rate, I don't think Wise In-Law's run at this track, has it? Oh, well, we're about to find out. No, I don't think it has. So I'm not sure why Wise In-Law has got that this track place strike rate is its best credential. This sometimes might go crazy because these all look the same, but the scores I know are correct. These can sometimes be misleading, so I might have to go back and check this after this stream and make sure it's all good to go for next week because that doesn't look right. So Wise In-Law comes out of a dominant maiden win at Bairnsdale. Gee, it's a long way up in class. Gee, look at the breeding on this horse though. Wooden Bassett, very good sire. Sylvia's Mother, very good racehorse. Ran in the Magic Millions 2-year-old classic, didn't do too bad. Ran behind Angel Ladder, getting too far back at Geelong this day. And Angel Ladder and Odessa are decent horses. Then goes to Bairnsdale, wins impressively. And what's the price at the moment? $19. $34 for Street Fighter Vega, who's also right in the market. Who is this? I've never heard of Yassi Nishitani before. Oh, it's a Tasmanian. Well, this horse could go straight to the front. Won a Hobart Maiden. Hobart Maiden straight across to the Valley. All right. The viewer voted algorithm doesn't mind it. Let's keep on going. Race 6, if it loads, is a benchmark 84 over 1600. We'll input that in. Change these margins again. Shouldn't make too much of a difference, but well, let's go to this results tab, see what we've got. The top rated horse is Reset the Jazz. Number 3 is the top rated selection, Reset the Jazz, ahead of number 5, Dragoon. And then we've got Prince Eric, Rolling Magic, and Shoeless. The biggest overlays, Prince Eric is the biggest. The second biggest is Reset the Jazz. Mr. Monaco is the third biggest. The biggest underlay is Far Flung. Again, it was the biggest underlay last time it ran. Dragoon is the second biggest underlay, and the third biggest underlay is Shoeless. Who's everyone with in race number 6? Because the viewer voted algorithm is with Reset the Jazz, and it is also an overlay. Dragoon second, Prince Eric third, Rolling Magic fourth, Shoeless fifth. Biggest overlay is Prince Eric. Second biggest overlay is Reset the Jazz. And third biggest overlay is horse number 7, Mr. Monaco. The biggest underlays we've got 12 Far Flung. And then 5 Dragoon and 9 Shoeless. Who's everyone with? Dragoon, second biggest underlay, second selection. So Mr. Monaco, I watched, don't know much about it, says Razzle Dazzle. Adsies with Pudding. I have seen someone somewhere like Pudding as well as you, Adzi. I mean, it didn't have much luck last start with Blake Shin. Reset the Jazz, the top selection, gets Mark Zara and was decent last start behind Shoeless. I remember it was very well backed this day. How much weight? It's down 2 kilos from last start, and Shoeless is also down 2 kilos. So it has to turn the tables on that horse. Who was I looking for? Mr. Monaco. Gee, it's an international. All right, so this thing could be good then. Prince Eric is the biggest overlay. It's first up. Its first up record actually doesn't read too badly. It might be in the right part of the track, but looks like it's going to get back. So that goes against our track intel from Vinny. So maybe Prince Eric for a place, if anything. Loves this distance, though. That's probably why it did so well and has placed at this track and trip before. We get to the feature. Very intriguing. The Norman Carlyon. Looks to be a real speed test up the front. Maybe it could set up for Oak Hill again. What does the viewer voted algorithm say? The viewer voted algorithm was all over Oak Hill in the race the other week. I wonder who it's with in the feature tomorrow at the Valley. Alright, what's it gonna say? 3, 2, 1. Top rated is Oak Hill again. Unsurprising, it is the favourite. Second top rated is New York Luster. And then we've got Barraquil, Golden Boom, Midwest. Some overlays here. Big overlay is New York Luster. Second biggest overlay is Don't Hope Do, who's a fair way up in class. Third biggest is Dream Zell, who was unlucky last start not to win. The underlays, the biggest underlay is Golden Boom. The second biggest underlay is the one Mornington Glory. And then the third biggest is Barraquil. Who's everyone with? Oak Hill and New York Luster for Vinny. Well, that's a good combination because they are the top two selections in the viewer voted algorithm. Oak Hill ahead of New York Luster. If I had to pick one personally in the race, I couldn't jump off Oak Hill, how it ran last time. But it will be very intriguing to see who wins this race and if we unearth one that could be competitive in a Moya. I'm not sure if it's going to be Oak Hill though because of its racing pattern. The fact that it'll get further back than last start, it's likely to get further back than last start tomorrow, and if it still manages to win, that'll be good, but then it's going to probably go up against a Group 1 field, which getting back around the valley isn't ideal, unlike Mornington Glory last year, who has some speed. Golden Boom, the biggest underlay. Mornington Glory is the second biggest underlay. And then the third biggest underlay is Barraquil. Who's everyone with? Won't back Oak Hill too short, but will back New York Luster. That's exactly what the viewer voted algorithm says. So you're on the money. Vinny, Oak Hill looks hard to beat, but if Barraquil shows up, he'll be hard to beat as well. Barraquil is a very, very good horse. Got to a meteorite last preparation and started favourite in that race and ran pretty well despite losing. But it is off a bit of a break, so might need a run against some of these race-fit horses and might be beaten for speed a tad. With all the speedsters, this is an open handicap now over 1,523 metres. Wonder who the viewer voted algorithm's going to suggest for this one. No last start winners, so we don't need to change anything. Let's go to this results tab. The biggest overlay the top rated selection is Run Harry Run. Took me a while to figure that out. And then we've got Akita Sushi in for second. I know that horse is a big price. And Detonator Jack G. I struggle in my head to see one of those two horses winning, but the viewer voted algorithm loves them. Globe and then Pounding. The biggest overlays are Akita Sushi and Detonator Jack. There's the only two overlays in the race. The 12 Hard to Cross is the biggest underlay. And then Green Fly, the second biggest underlay. And Go Daddy, the third. Who is everyone with in race 8, the penultimate race at the Valley tomorrow? Let me know. The viewer voted algorithm is with Run Harry Run, but the biggest overlay by far is Akita Sushi. Surely Akita Sushi won't be winning tomorrow. Like it's a Melbourne Cup horse. Biggest overlays are Akita Sushi and Detonator Jack. Those are the only two overlays in the race. Then the three biggest underlays are the 12 Hard to Cross, the 9 Green Fly, and 11 Go Daddy. Who's everyone with? Adsy's with Akita. Akita will win the Melbourne Cup this year. Well, I mean, it ran well last year. Not tipping this race, but I like Detonator Jack and Hard to Cross. I'm glad that you've said Detonator Jack because I don't think it's one for ages. If it was a soft track, I thought Green Fly was a chance. Yeah, that's true. Green Fly's a dead set wet tracker, isn't it? I want to go to the form of these top two horses, Akita Sushi and Detonator Jack. Okay, so Akita Sushi can win first up. It would have polled pretty well in the track because it's 1 for 1, but it's never won below 2,150 metres. That's its problem. Actually, if we go a bit deeper, where did it run first up last time? Run over 2,000. Okay, so it's never, has it ever run? I don't think it's ever run below 2,000 meters, and so they've just put it in this race for a run, pretty much. All right, I wouldn't be trusting this overlay. Detonator Jack, drawn 1, probably can settle more forward. Didn't run too badly here. Blinkers again, it's got to be a better chance than Akita, but the viewer voted algorithm seems to like Akita, and now we move on to the last race. It is the biggest field of the day, and the last race we will put through the viewer voted algorithm this afternoon. Let's go to those margins and change them. So we need to change for this last race. Now we'll go to the results. The top rated horse is Stolly Bolly. Stolly Bolly on top in the last for the viewer voted algorithm, ahead of Pivotal 10. And then we've got Keep Your Cool, De Bergerac. De Bergerac last start winner. And then, is it Zarpo? Zarpo the 5th. The biggest overlay is Pivotal 10. Second biggest overlay is Zarpo. And third biggest overlay, Keep Your Cool. De Bergerac, the biggest underlay. Second biggest underlay, Raikoki. And the third biggest underlay, Red Hot Nick up the top. Who's everyone with in race 9? Let me know who you're with in the last. But the 12 Stolly Bolly is on top from the viewer voted algorithm, ahead of Pivotal 10. And then Keep Your Cool. De Bergerac is 5th, and Zarpo is in 5th. I was at Caulfield the day that I think Zarpo ran its last race at, and Ryan Houston copped an absolute smashing from Simon Zara after the race in the mounting yard. He was so angry. If you need to go back and watch that replay to know what I'm talking about, then it was Zarpo's run at Caulfield on the whatever day it was, the Bletchingley day, I think. No, not the Bletchingley, the Sir John Monash. Yeah. So, did Ryan Houston get the reins this time? Well, no one's got the reins at the moment, but it's got a run, and Ryan Houston's mount got scratched. Will Simon Zara go for Ryan Houston again? I don't think he will after what I saw last time. Who's everyone with? Stolly Bolly 2 classy. Pivotal 10 think gets to ideal distance. Think it's massive overs. So does the viewer voted algorithm. Adsies with Red Hot Nick to do it again. I think Stolly Bolly, the way it ran over 1,000 metres last time, like it should be up 200 metres in distance, down 5 kilos in weight, it should be hard to beat. The biggest overlay was this horse, Pivotal 10. It is an overseas horse. Looks like it was a New Zealand horse. Ran in the... Actually, that's a decent SP for a $3 million race, the Kiwi. 1,200 metres, 2 from 3. I think this is actually decent. Nothing first up, but it's run a second before. I think Razzle Dazzle, you'd be what price is it? $11. It's double figures. Will Zarpo be scratched? No jockey named. I think the only reason, I think why it doesn't have a jockey at the moment is because it's a second emergency. Simon Zara might not be thinking it gets a run, but now that it has, he might... No, sorry, he hasn't got a run yet because the emergency got scratched. So Zarpo needs one more scratching to get into the field. We'll quickly go back through all the races again, and then I will outline a quaddie. Race 1, top selection and biggest overlay is Ferocious Frankie. Top selection in race 2, Jennifer Moose with the biggest overlay, Bold Soul, but that race was a bit not much edge. Sabi Storm, biggest overlay and top selection in race 3. Race 4, Maisie was the top selection, but nothing else matters is the biggest overlay. Estremo, top selection in this race, but Street Fighter Vega not within the law, Wise in Law were the two biggest overlays at good prices. Reset the Jazz, the top selection. Prince Eric, the biggest overlay. Race 7, Oak Hill, the top selection. New York Luster, the biggest overlay. Race 8, Run Harry Run was the top selection, with Akita Sushi, the Melbourne Cup horse, being the biggest overlay. And then the last, Stolly Bolly, the top selection. And then the biggest overlay, Pivotal 10, the overseas horse. Now we'll get to a few quaddies. Right, how am I going to do this? So not too big of a not too big of a spend, but also we want to try and get it. So 2 and 6 are definitely in the first leg. That's Bold Soul and Jennifer Moose. Flame and Romans is the third selection, but it's also an underlay. Whereas Ardarkin is the fourth selection, but it's the second biggest overlay. So what do we do there? I'm going to leave that leg for now. Race 3, Sabi Storm, Crossbow has to go in. I think Godfred Kirk has to go in. Might leave out Exit. That'll probably do race 3. That's Crossbow, Godfred Kirk, and Sabi Storm in race 3. In race 4, 6, 10, and 11 are in. Will that do? That might do. So that's Rise to It, Nothing Else Matters, and Maisie in race number 4. And then in race 5, we're going to put in 5, 6, 7, 9, which is Space Rider, Estremo, Wise in Law, and Street Fighter Vega. 2x3 is 6, by 3 is 18, by 4 is 72. Alright, now I forgot to get rid of this from last week. Now the main quaddie in race 6. I'm going to put 3, 5, and 8 in. So that's Reset the Jazz, Dragoon, and Prince Eric. In race 7, probably get away with 5 and 8. That's Oak Hill and New York Luster. In race 8, Akita Sushi, Detonator Jack, and Run Harry Run. That's going to do for race 8. And then in race 9, we're going to go for 7, 10, and 12, which is Keep Your Cool, Pivotal 10, and Stolly Bolly. 3x2 is 6, by 3 is 18, by 3 is 54. So there's the early quaddie, there's the late quaddie. Hopefully we can get a quaddie this Saturday based off the viewer voted algorithm. And I think that's all she wrote. Hopefully Randwick goes ahead tomorrow. I haven't seen any news for the past 2 or 3 hours, so I'm not sure what they're doing. I don't expect a call to be made yet on the track. I heard Chris Wallace say on radio this morning they might push it back to... Well, he wants them to push it back to Wednesday. It could be pushed back to Monday. It could be run tomorrow. I don't know. Personally, I hope they run it tomorrow because, it's Saturday. Who wants Group 1 racing on a Monday? Who wants Group 1 racing on a Wednesday? I'd rather have Group 1 racing on a Saturday regardless of the track. That's just my opinion. You might see it differently. But I want them to run tomorrow. If they can. Only if they can. If it's a heavy 10 and the track's raceable, if that's a word, then I hope they do the meeting. Alright, that's going to do it for the viewer voted algorithm for tonight. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hopefully the viewer voted algorithm can have some luck like it did last week. Once this finally loads, I'll see you in the next video or live stream. Bye for now.